I'd like to ask you, Frank Furman, what is the biggest risk?
Yeah, I feel like I've been talking about risk the whole time. Maybe I should have put on a sunnier face to start. But it's a great question. It's funny you ask because I oftentimes get asked about insurance. That tends to be a smaller challenge for pad split hosts because ultimately, it's a rental property. The big risks in insurance that your kind of homeowner's policy or kind of landlord policy would cover are the same. Risk of a tornado is the same risk of tornado. We can be blamed for many things, but typically not for controlling the weather. So, that tends to be relatively straightforward. To me, the biggest risk to our business kind of gets to your point, certainly about zoning, but I'd say less is a distinct zoning question, more but certainly one around like kind of government involvement and prohibition. I mean, it's I guess you could broadly call it the NIMBY movement being weaponized, and certainly you've seen it with other startups, certainly in the space. I mean, Airbnb is a great example where Airbnb, their core offering of letting people rent out their properties was essentially legal everywhere in the United States 10 years ago. There may be some small exceptions, and we could have the debate about whether or not they should have been paying hotel tax and this and that. But generally, it was just kind of off the books. No one even thought it was that strange. And if in 2005 you'd said, hey, I'm going to rent out, I'm going to leave my house for a week and I'm going to have someone pay me for to live there for a week, no one would say boo. You would have no issue at all. Now, obviously, they grew, they got a ton of coverage, and there are issues. People use party houses, and a bunch of guys come into a residential neighborhood to go to for a big football game, and they're throwing a kegger, and neighbors are mad. I get it. I also live in a quiet neighborhood. I have kids. We all have a little bit of the NIMBYism in us, right? Especially on work nights and that kind of thing. So I get it. They also, of course, have a very powerful competitor and kind of hotel companies and so on that's consolidated and well resourced. So there's a little bit of that too. Fast forward to 2021, and many municipalities have either straight prohibitions that are new, they've been legislated into existence, or pretty onerous requirements on Airbnb that in some cases aren't actually even easy for them to answer, right? Because one of the unfortunate things about our kind of the way that politicians think about these things is like they think Airbnb is operating all these units when clearly they're not. They're it's a marketplace. Hosts are operating the units, so Airbnb doesn't know what's going on or doesn't check the maintenance or whatever. That would be almost impossible for them to do. So okay, fine, but they've obviously faced a lot of headwinds, but they were able to get big enough and secure enough that they could kind of attack them head on. For us, I anticipate some of the same sort of challenges. We're in the workforce housing business, and everyone loves workforce housing, except in their street, except in their neighborhood, except in their town. They want it to be somewhere. They want to get their Starbucks coffee at for cheap, but they don't want to house the barista. So okay, fine, we're going to face some of the same headwinds, but can we get to a size and scale quickly enough, fast enough, and become accepted enough to where you're, not necessarily too big to fail, but where you can face those challenges head on, and where the disruption of blocking things is at least as much as, the disruption that you're causing. Because, real estate and renting, it's not always an easy business. We have challenges, as I like to say, our residents are cut from the crooked timber that is humanity, and they sometimes fall short of what they'd like to do. Predominantly good people, but sometimes they park like jerks. Sometimes they cause trouble. That's just the reality of it. When you have a couple thousand of these people, it's inevitable. So can we get big enough, fast enough, and really create enough value in the marketplace that look, the headwinds are coming. That's inevitable, but we can face them with kind of a worthy challenge. And when communities say, hey, we don't actually like workforce housing in this town, we can say, okay, well, we're already here. So, what's next? Do we need to tell you where they are? Do we need to, this or that? How do we conform and meet it? but have it not be such an onerous, have it, have the scale to where we can meet it.